All right, everyone. Now it's time to talk about the New York City mayor's race. It's quite clear at this point that no real coalition can be built to try to stop Mamdani, the communist, from winning the election there. So New York City is going to be run by a communist, and he calls himself a democratic socialist, which just means a socialist that gets voted into office instead of shooting people in order to seize power, but he's really beyond socialism. When you're talking about government-run grocery stores and rental freezes and stuff like that, you're basically talking about a Soviet-era policy more than anything else. At the very least, it would be a far-left policy. Um, I would argue that that's taken effectively from literal communism, um, considering that Mamdani has quoted Karl Marx on several occasions. I think it's quite clear what his ideological views actually are. Link in the description, archived, of course. He's pulled out ahead of the other potential candidates to a considerable degree. He's probably going to win. This is bad news for literally everyone. Is it bad news for people that are on the right? Yes, because the handful of people that'll be in New York City that are under his so-called leadership will suffer. Is it bad for the Democrats? Yes, it's very bad for the Democrats. It's very bad for liberals because it will be even more stark that neoliberals, that is the corporate liberal class that tends to predominate in places like New York City, is mollycoddling the far left, and that they've also that the far left has slipped its leash at this point and is beginning to take over the party. There's also a separate news article I'll be talking about later on my live stream to the same effect. The left has risen up and formed its own coalition, and they are attempting to outflank the party at large. So the older liberals, people like over 50, that don't believe in the nouveau far leftism, are actually being outshined by a bunch of young upstarts. People like Mamdani, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and so forth, Ilhan Omar, people that are younger, people that have ideas that are ideologically different from the normal, the so-called normal, I would say, liberal movement. They don't agree with the same things. Mm, delicious tea. Yeah, they've outflanked them, basically. They've managed to remove numerous members of Congress, certain mayors, a few governors, if I remember correctly, in favor of far leftism. So the Democratic Party is becoming more and more communistic. The Republican Party, meanwhile, is lurching off into MAGA populism. So instead of having, no choice 2012, like we had between Obama and Romney, where you could take anything that they said, ascribe it to the other person, and most people would believe that it was actually a quote from them because they were arguing for the same fucking thing. At the very least, now we have a choice. I think the Democrats suffer the most of all, though. Having people like Mamdani in your party who are going to embarrass themselves and do things that even New Yorkers, liberal as they tend to be, are going to shy away from the fact that you're going to have this person as a very visible member of your political party is dead weight at the federal level. The problem, as I've described, is similar to what far right, like evangelist moralists, suffer. The far right evangelist sort of moralistic side of the Republican Party had been dead weight on the Republican Party for a long time. Now, they're not the ones running the show now, although they do still have a presence. MAGA populism mainly is running the show now, which is an improvement, at least politically and pragmatically. But for a while there, it was mainly since the 80s, it had mainly been like the evangelocons, basically. The problem is that what works in small town Wyoming doesn't necessarily extrapolate to a national platform. Once the Republican Party got past that, which it did in 2016, all of a sudden they began gobbling up swing states and turning them red. Places like Iowa, places like Ohio, places like Florida, certainly refortifying their presence in Texas and places like that, because people have gotten past that particular era of politics. What works in one generation doesn't necessarily work in the next one. The Democrats, meanwhile, have regressed to Carterism more than anything else. This is exactly what the last paradigm sought to replace. These people, by and large, are going to be relegated to far blue districts. So, again, New York City, AOC's district, places like that. Or California. It's not going to help you on a national level. It's simply not going to be helpful. You're going to end up with this moron going on TV and getting a lot of press coverage, by the way, saying, oh, here, look at our new government-run grocery store and shit like that. It'll be really funny. It'll be amusing. Won't be helpful to the people of New York City. Can't wait to get back there, by the way. I don't understand. Some people, for some reason, they think that New York City's not fun. You can see basically anything there, and they like pirates too, which is always helpful. But it's going to ruin the city of New York, at least partially. I have a feeling that Mamdani is going to be a one-termer. He's going to screw up so bad that he's going to get knocked out. The Democrats, by the way, might be the ones to knock him off his pedestal. Once he gets in there and starts screwing up, he might become so much dead weight to the party that they say, okay, enough is enough. This is not going to work. Bye, and withdraw funding and beat the crap out of him politically. This is entirely possible. Pelosi's of the party are not particularly happy about these leftovers. And Nancy Pelosi has sparred with AOC on several occasions. If she's going to spar with AOC, who is not a communist, she's just a garden variety moron socialist, imagine what she's going to do dressing down somebody like Mamdani. You'll have an inter-party civil war. And by the way, the left is casting it off as, oh, all these old fossils, they just hate us because we like progress. And we're part of the system, and the system's corrupt. I mean, you're half right. The system is corrupt, and so are they. That doesn't mean that the replacement for the existing system that is should be communism. I think we can probably generally agree on that. I think that that's a fairly unifying feature of modern politics. The fact is that Mamdani is a moron. He doesn't know what he's doing. His proposals are preposterous, and he will fail. This is inevitable. We've seen it before. If he implements even a few of the plans that he has in mind, it's going to cause economic carnage. Uh, it's been tried before, and it fails every single time. Show me an instance in which those particular proposals that he's made, rental freezes, government run grocery stores, and so forth, show me an example in history where that sort of situation has led to economic prosperity instead of poverty. I doubt that you're going to find one. So he'll be an abysmal failure. It'll drag leftism down with it. So I guess, that's the one silver lining on a dark cloud. But he's probably going to win. He probably will be the next mayor. Yeah. Unfortunately for everyone in New York City. That's about all. Peace out.